Have you ever arrived in a city you've dreamed about your whole life, and within hours you've already made 3 mistakes that cost you time, money, and a lot of patience? That was me in Rome. So before you book anything, listen closely. In the next minutes, I'm handing you the exact 10 things nobody told me about. And stay till the end, because that's the one I'm still embarrassed about. In this countdown, I'm sharing 10 lessons we learned from experience, from avoiding common mistakes and saving money to making your days far more comfortable and enjoyable. And make sure you stay until number 1, because it is a surprisingly important tip that most visitors never think about until they need it. First thing is to prepare for walking in Rome. Grant and I started our practice walking before we left Australia because we knew Europe would involve a lot of steps. And I'm so glad that we did. By our second day in Rome, we were getting close to 30,000 steps. That's a lot. Rome is not smooth, easy walking either. You've got stairs, hills, uneven footpaths, queues, museums, piazzas, and long walks between attractions. And those cobblestones, every single one of those stones was cut by hand, and they're laid on a bed of sand so they flex slightly under weight, which is why they've lasted for over 500 years. Beautiful, yes. Historic, absolutely. Comfortable to walk on for 8 hours? Not even slightly. Even on a good day, Grant gets really sore feet, so he wore his Skechers Arch Fit walking shoes, and honestly, they were worth it. My advice is, don't wait until you arrive in Rome to find out whether your shoes are comfortable. Start walking before you go. Wear your shoes in, test them properly, and don't take brand new shoes unless you want blisters on day 1. Because we were leaving Australia at the start of winter, I made sure I had all of my vaccinations up to date before we went. That might sound boring, but when you've paid thousands of dollars for flights, hotels, tours, and insurance, the last thing you want is to end up sick in a hotel room. Before we left, I also made sure we had our regular medications, basic pain relief, cold and flu tablets, stomach tablets, plasters, and anything else we might need, like our face masks. Yes, Rome is exciting, but travel can be tiring. You're on planes, you're in airports, on buses, and around crowds, eating different food and just walking a lot more than usual. Hey, and I know this is a no-brainer, but travel insurance is an absolute must. Rome is not a city where you can always just turn up and expect to get into the big attractions. The Colosseum, the Vatican museums, the Sistine Chapel, these are some of the most famous places in the world. If something is a must-see for you, book it before you arrive. And be aware of the time of day, how much walking is involved, where the entrance is, and whether you'll need transport afterwards. Sometimes the attraction itself is only part of the day. The real energy goes into getting there, lining up, walking through it, and then getting back again. And also, if you're wondering whether it's better to book directly or through a tour platform, I would compare both. Booking directly is often the cheapest option and gives you the official ticket. But platforms like Get Your Guide and Buy a Tour can be very convenient if you want a guided tour, bundled experiences, flexible cancellation policies, or skip the line options. One thing I also noticed is that Rome has a number of free walking tours available. We didn't actually do one ourselves, but I remember seeing groups out and about with local guides, and they looked like a great way to get an introduction to the city. If you're visiting Rome for the first time, a free walking tour can help you get your bearings, learn some history, and discover areas you might otherwise walk straight past. Just remember that while they're called free, it's customary to tip the guide if you enjoy the tour. One of my favourite discoveries in Rome was that all around the city you'll find little public drinking fountains called nosoni, which means big noses. The water is safe to drink. It comes through Rome's 2,000-year-old aqueduct system and is the same drinking water used in homes and hotels. The ancient Romans were remarkable engineers, building aqueducts from stone, brick and concrete. Interestingly, even here in Perth, I've seen old terracotta piping used underground, although it is more commonly associated with waste and drainage systems rather than the drinking water. Rome has around 2,500 of these public fountains, so taking a refillable bottle can save you and your money. The water is fresh, cold, and honestly, when you're walking around Rome all day, it feels like a gift. One thing I wish I'd understood earlier is how different the coffee culture can be in Rome. If you walk into a cafe and order a coffee at the counter, drink it standing up and then leave. It's often much cheaper than sitting down at a table. In some places, the difference can be surprisingly noticeable. Now, if you want to sit down, relax and enjoy the atmosphere, that is absolutely fine. Sometimes that's part of the experience. But if all you want is a quick coffee while exploring the city, stand at the bar like the locals do. Food is another highlight of Rome. Of course, there are countless restaurants, trattorias and cafes. But one thing I really love is the culture of aperitivo. In the late afternoon, many Italians slow down for a pre-dinner drink and a few snacks. It's not quite lunch, not quite dinner, it's a social ritual. A beautiful Campari spritz or Aperol spritz served with olives, crisps, nuts or small bites is one of those simple pleasures that feels wonderfully Roman. In fact, if you've had a big breakfast and a busy morning of sightseeing, it can be worth skipping a full lunch and saving your appetite for aperitivo later in the day. Sitting in a piazza, watching the world go by with a spritz in hand is one of the best ways to soak up the atmosphere. Another lovely Italian tradition is something called passeggiata, which translates to a leisurely stroll or evening walk. In the late afternoon or early evening, people head out for a relaxed walk, often stopping for a gelato along the way. It's not about getting somewhere quickly, it's about enjoying the atmosphere, seeing friends and being part of the community and life of the city. Grabbing a gelato and wandering through Rome as the day begins to cool down is one of those simple experiences that makes you feel connected to the local culture. Another place that deserves a special mention is Alice Pizza. You'll find Alice Pizza in several locations around Rome, and for us it became one of those discoveries that perfectly suited our busy sightseeing day. They serve pizza by the slice with dozens of toppings on display, and you simply tell them how much you would like. The slices are cut to size and priced by weight, which makes it easy to try a few different varieties without committing to a whole pizza. It was quick, affordable, and absolutely delicious, and far more memorable than we expected. In fact, when people ask about food highlights of Rome, Alice Pizza is one of the first places I mention. Sometimes travel memories come from famous restaurants, but sometimes they come from finding a simple place that you end up returning to again and again. Rome has a way of making you feel like you should be seeing more. Before you know it, you've built an itinerary that looks achievable on paper, but feels exhausting in reality. The temptation is to race from one landmark to the next so you can tick everything off your list. But Rome rewards those who slow down. The city has been there for nearly 3,000 years. It doesn't need to be rushed. So instead of trying to squeeze 6 major attractions into one day, give yourself permission to enjoy fewer things more deeply. Some of our most enjoyable moments came from simply relaxing with a gelato in hand and soaking up the atmosphere around us. You'll come home with better memories, better photos, and probably a lot more energy too. Rome is busy. Even if you're not travelling in the middle of summer, the major attractions can still be packed. The Trevi Fountain, the Vatican, the Colosseum, the Spanish Steps, these places are famous for a reason and everyone wants to see them. So go early if you can. Be patient. Keep your bag close and don't expect to get that perfect empty photo unless you're there very early in the morning. Sometimes you just have to accept the crowds, and enjoy the atmosphere. One extra thing worth mentioning is phone and wallet security. Rome is generally a wonderful city to visit, but like many major tourist destinations, pickpocketing can happen in crowded areas, on public transport, and around popular attractions. Keep your phone in a secure pocket or zip compartment rather than in your back pocket. Use bags that zip closed and can be worn across your body. Rome is a fantastic city for food. Of course, you'll find pizza, pasta and gelato everywhere, but some of the most memorable meals came from trying dishes that are uniquely Roman. Keep an eye out for classics like cacio e pepe, just pecorino cheese and black pepper. And don't be afraid to step away from the restaurants right beside the major tourist attractions. Some of our best meals were found a few streets back, where the atmosphere felt more relaxed and the food often felt more authentic. If you enjoy food, Rome is one of those cities where every meal can become part of the travel experience. So arrive hungry and be willing to try something new. Where you stay in Rome really does matter. A hotel that looks only 20 minutes away on a map might feel very different after a long day of walking. If you're over 50 or travelling with someone who gets tired or gets sore feet, staying close to the transport, restaurants or the places you most want to see can make a huge difference. Sometimes a cheaper hotel farther out can cost you more in taxis, transport, time and energy. So when you're booking accommodation, don't just look at the room, look at the location. Now, this is the tip I promised you at the start. And I know it might sound funny, but honestly, this one absolutely matters. Public toilets in Rome are not always easy to find, and some places charge €1 or even €2 just to use them. That might not sound like much, but if you're out all day and you need to go several times, it adds up very quickly. So here's what works. Museums and major attractions almost always have facilities. Use them while you're there, even if you don't think you need to. Cafes, buy an espresso, use the bathroom, everybody wins. So one of our unofficial travel hacks became McDonald's, and let's just say they may have saved the day more than once. In fact, I've actually put together a map showing where all the McDonald's locations and public toilets are around Rome, because it turned out to be one of the most useful planning tools we had during our trip. So my advice is, when you're planning your day, don't just think about the attractions, think about toilets too. So those are my 10 tips for visiting Rome. Obviously, there are so many more things that I could have talked about, but I wanted to keep this list simple, practical, and based on what actually helped us. Rome is absolutely incredible. It's busy, beautiful, exhausting, fascinating, and unforgettable. If you're planning your own trip, I hope these tips save you some time, money, sore feet, and toilet stress. If you've been to Rome, let me know your best tip in the comments. And if you're planning to go, tell me what you're most excited to see. And let me know in the comments when you subscribe to my channel. I would like to thank you personally. This Italy series is just getting started. I've got more cities, more stories, and more of those little historical moments that make travel so much richer, and I would love you to come along for the ride. Until next time, take care and keep on shining.